Hello and welcome to Exotic Gardening UK, Yorkshire Kris Weekly, and on this week's episode we'll be looking at fantastic flowering hardy exotic plants. What a wonderful flower we have here, this single form of Dahlia. Really amazing coloured flowers, ombre colours going through pinks, oranges and yellows in the centre as well, on these really dark black stems. Again, this has proved hardy. It's stayed in the ground for years now, and sometimes it gets a bit of straw protection, sometimes it doesn't, and it comes back stronger every year. And it does self-seed, so we've got a few different seedlings about here in slightly different colours. But if you want to keep the same colour, then you can just divide it or take cuttings, which is the easiest way to propagate this dahlia. And it's not really affected by any pests or anything. Sometimes you get a bit of aphid attack on this new growth, but you can just quickly blitz it off by rubbing them off with your fingers, something like that, or getting some spray. And it's just a wonderful flower. You do have to deadhead this quite a lot because the single flowers, they last a few days, and then you've got to cut back the stems down to a growth point down there, and then you get more flowers after that. And it flowers, July is a peak, I would say, and it's great in August, and by September this particular dahlia doesn't look too good without having to cut it back a bit. But then if you've got a nice warm autumn, you get some good regrowth and plenty of flowers again through October and November. So this is one of my favourite dahlias, and it is hardy in my location. This here is a begonia, and this is begonia bonfire, and believe it or not, it's proved hardy here. So I mentioned it in previous years, I just leave it in this bed over winter. I do put some straw over this area, but year after year it comes up, doesn't start really doing anything till June, but then it quickly develops into a fully established plant, and it's covered in these wonderful orange-red flowers, and it flowers all summer into autumn. It's not troubled by pests, and it just gets on with it. And I would class this as hardy as any of the dahlias or gingers that I leave out in the ground, and it's just a great plant that I wouldn't be without. And I've got a few more dotted about as well. It's good in shade underneath this ginger and against this hedge here as well, but it does get quite a lot of sun, and the leaves still keep this nice dark mid-green colour with these nice serrated edges, and it's just a great doer, and it always looks nice and bright in this part of the garden. This wonderful yellow flowering plant is Inula magnifica, and it's totally hardy, no protection needed over winter whatsoever. It has these huge green leaves, and it has these amazing spidery daisy-like flowers which are completely sort of egg yolk yellow, and it flowers again July and August time, and the bees, as we can see there, and the butterflies absolutely love it. So it's great for wildlife gardening as well, and it just flowers over many different stems. This one's got quite sort of big for this space, and it's got flowers in all directions all around me. Just one plant, but it's covering a good 3 or 4 meters by one end right over there, and it's over 2 meters tall at its highest up here, and it normally flowers at about 50 centimeters to a meter or so, up to 1.5 meters, and then some stems do get up to 2 meters. This is in part shade, part sun, so it does get some sun first thing in the morning, and it gets sun till about midday when it is shining, and then late on at the end of the day as well, but doesn't get the sort of the mid-afternoon sun. But it's got lots of flower buds ready to open here. We've had flowers for the last few weeks as well, and it's just a great doer. You can divide it very easily just by chopping bits off at the base in spring and planting it in other areas of the garden. It likes to be wet, so it likes lots of moisture, not like soaking or bog plant like that. Just keep it nice and moist to keep these nice big green leaves nice and happy, and you get these amazing yellow flowers. So this is the hardy passion fruit or passion flower, and it has the most amazing eye-catching flowers, which are sort of indigo on the edges, white, and then purple near the centre, and then we have a creamy centre, and we've got the stamen stigma there in this really wonderful arrangement, and they just look so eye-catching, you can't miss them, and they come all over this plant. So we've got a few flowers out here, we've got hundreds of buds ready to explode into colour all over the plant, and it's mixed here with the chocolate vine as well over my archway, and it's quite a vigorous vine, is the passion fruit, and it covers, you know, metres and metres of space if you let it run and run. But it is hardy down to about -8, -10, so you don't need to worry about it over winter, and it's sort of semi-evergreen, so in mild winters it keeps most of its leaves, and in harsh winters it'll lose most of its leaves, and it comes back, has sort of a woody twiny stems, and then at the fresh stems that come out in spring, obviously sort of not too hard yet, but they'll harden off as the season progresses and ripens, and it'll get through the winter that way. And you can cut it back and it just comes back, a bit like you can with lots of clematis, and it just keeps going and going, and you can get fruit off this. Not really that nice to eat, but you do get big sort of yellow orange fruit if you have a long season. You get good pollination on these as well. And you don't want to plant it in really rich soil, you want to plant it in quite sort of unimproved soil without too much added goodness, and then that just improves the flowering, and it's very happy just being left alone all season long. No feeding, no sort of diseases or pests go on this. It just carries on flowering all the way from sort of May, June time all the way through to the first frost, and can get right through to Christmas, still looking great with these flowers. And finally, here's possibly my favourite exotic hardy flower, and it's this amazing bi-coloured dahlia, single flowered form as well, so it's not a double or big blousy one, cactus type or anything like that. It's a nice single flower, and again on these nice dark stems that almost suffuse with sort of purple blush on these black stems basically, with a hint of green on the leaves. And this is in sort of full sun, and it flowers so much. I mean, it's got about 20-30 flowers out now, it's got hundreds of buds, and it just flowers and flowers all season long. Again, like the other dahlias, cut back the dead flowers down to a growing point and you get more flowers throughout the season. And provided it's well watered and in the sun, it won't get sort of like a mildew, and it won't sort of fizzle away as the season goes on. It'll just keep flowering and flowering and flowering. Give it a seaweed feed, give it some bloodfish and bone, give it some organic fertiliser, whatever you like. It loves the feed, it loves the water, it loves the sunshine, and you get these really colourful, very bright, happy flowers, and they contrast really well with the foliage and all the other plants around it, like this banana here, and we've got nasturtiums down there, and we've got lots of other bedding plants around here, and it just sets them off so well. So this is my last out of my 5 hardy exotic flowering plants. Thank you for watching this edition of Exotic Gardening UK. Join me next week, we'll be doing more in the garden.